Hello and welcome to Global Methodist Voices. So excited to be back with you again for another week. My name is Justin Arnold. I'm your host, pastor of Red Wine Methodist Church in Gainesville, Georgia, located in the North Georgia Conference of the Global Methodist Church. And so excited to be back with you again. Before we get started, I want to remind you this is coming out in October of 2025, and it's going to be about midterm season for your colleges. So we have a couple of colleges that are in our conference that we love and have elders in our connection as their leaders. They're called the Awakening Collegiate Fellowship. They're at North Georgia and Georgia College and State. And I just invite you not to give, but to pray for the students that are at the college, pray for the students that are exploring their faith while they're there, pray for the students that are not yet involved that will come to know the Lord in their ministry. So if you want to check either one of those out, head over to a previous podcast episode where we record with their leaders, or go ahead and head to their websites. They'll be linked in the description below. All right. Well, today we have an awesome guest. This guest I've never met before. We started talking about 6 minutes ago, which is perfect because you're going to get to meet him the same time that I do. But I got a text that said, you've got to meet this guy. He is leading in relational discipleship within his church. And so I want to welcome Brandon Brown to the Global Methodist Voices podcast. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you, Justin. It's nice to meet you today.
All right, Brandon, get us started. What's your role in your local church, and where is your local church?
Okay. Our local church is at Homer Methodist. It's at 141 Sycamore Street there in Homer. It's a little country church that is near and dear to all of our hearts. Over the past years, I've served in several different roles there. But currently, it's just been my kind of my mission and my goal to just be there, just to serve, and to do whatever God's calling me to do. And He had laid on my plate some of the discipleship band programs that our pastor Fletcher there was kind of spearheading, and so he asked me if I would be willing to lead, or not really lead, but facilitate uh, a band group. And I said, absolutely. And so, ever since we started that, it's been several months now that we've had our one band group going. And, just the growth in the group, and just to being able to congeal together as men, because it's gender specific. So we do have some women's groups that we have going, as well as men's groups. So, but being with your gender specific allows you to have a little bit more openness and understanding, and kind of see things from that perspective. So, in our first band group that we got started, it's a wide variety of different ages in there. So, we've got some from mid-30s all the way up into their 70s, and we've got about 5 different guys that are in that band. And so just hearing the different perspectives from an age perspective as well, really gives you a different perspective in the way that you're looking or reading. We have a reading plan that we go over every week. And so most of the time it's like a chapter a week. And so it's broken down. And so it's not a whole lot of reading every day, but it's just bits and pieces. And so then whenever you come together as a collective group there, then, everyone's already read what the chapter is, and then we just have an open discussion about it, and talk about some of the different struggles that each one of us are facing in just our everyday normal lives, and what those scriptures that we're reading, what certain ones of them meant to us. Some of us journal on it and write down prayers that we're writing about those specific scriptures, and kind of what stuck out to us, and then writing down questions that we may have about those scriptures to kind of dig deeper into. And so it's really good just to, for me, I'm not a leader. I won't say that I'm a leader there. I'm a facilitator. I like going with that word because I don't like taking on the role as the lead, because sometimes life gets in our way and we can't make it there. But we've only had, I think, out of the last, I don't know, we've been going for like 6 or 8 months now, and I think we've only had twice out of those 6 or 8 months that we did have to cancel, for all of us just having stuff being in the way, or something that came up, so it's just been really good to come together as a collective group with men. And then a few weeks ago, it's probably about 7 or 8 weeks ago, we started another band, and I'm the oldest in the group in it. So I get the flip side of it. And so then I get to hear the perspective of the younger guys as well. And those guys are much more academic than I am too. So I learn a lot. I learn more from them academically than what I ever would if I were just studying on my own. But then I bring a whole lot of experience and of experience of just doing, and especially doing the wrong things, and a lot of times. And so I bring forth that type of experience that hopefully they can turn into wisdom there, and learn from my mistakes and not have to go down the same roads that I have.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's Brandon, that's incredible. And leader's going to be written on you. I'm sorry about that, but that's just part of it's just the nature of the beast, man. And I want to, so let's take it back. Let's really, when were you first exposed to this idea of a band, and who exposed you to it?
Yeah, our pastor Fletcher Law was the first one that exposed me to it, and I would say that would have been probably sometime in March. I think we had a men's meeting in around March, and so yeah, it was February or March, either one. But he came up, or presented us with the idea of it, and it just kind of made sense that you would join together in small groups, bands, just it's just a label or whatever it is you want to call it there. But the good thing is just making sure that you don't have so big of a group where people don't get the opportunity to speak.
Right.
You want to keep it small enough so that everybody has ample time, if something's laid on their heart, to speak up and be able to discuss, and not have so many that everybody doesn't get that opportunity.
Right, right. So this is, I'm sure you know, but for those who are listening that have never experienced, like John Wesley back in the late 1700s created these ideas. There were two different groups. There'd be classes. Those were about learning a lot about you know, biblical understanding more than they were about accountability. And a band then became a very close knit small group of people who were going to walk with great accountability into uh, into life together. And so you guys are beginning to experience it. I love that you heard about this back in February and March. And we're like, yeah, I mean, we're going to do it. It is to me that is a faithful and an honest response to, all right, so I've heard it, now what do I do with it? And so I'm excited for that for you. One of the things that is instrumental, I think, and I want your take on it, is that once a band is formed, once that small group of men or women, typically not together like you said, once that group's formed, can anyone join it?
So we've done it a couple of different ways. Like, after we've created the bands, it's pretty much a locked group.
Yep.
Not saying that you can't join. I mean, you'd always want to leave that open. I think, but in those instances where you do have people that are wanting to join the band, then we actually had one that came last week, and you know he came, but I wanted him to get exposed to what we were doing, and so that we could start another one. and
Right.
not integrate him into that band because we've already congealed, and there's a level of confidence and all of that that goes into it as well, where you're sharing some pretty intimate details about yourself and about your life and your walk with Christ, your personal life, and all of that. And so in the respect of trying to keep it a safe space, then you want to be surrounded by people, in my take, that you trust, and
Right.
so that whatever is kind of said in that room, in that band, in that group, stays in that band, in that group.
Right.
I think that's important to have that trust in that group. So I let the other guy come in hopes that we can start another band at another place at another time.
Right. That's kind of where I was thinking is that a lot of times when we start a small group, we're like, this is the this is the church small group. We meet on Tuesday nights. The doors are unlocked. Anybody can come in at any time and pick up. And that's amazing. But that's probably more of a class,
Right.
to use Wesley's terms. That's probably more of a small group, a modern day small group. A band is going to be like you're experiencing. It's a closed group, and it's not meant to be closed to be ugly. It's meant to be closed so that you and your guys can walk lockstep with each other. Y'all will confess your sins to one another. You will hold each other accountable. You will pray together. You'll walk through the hard stuff, and you'll get to experience the goodness of iron sharpening iron. Right? We always quote that verse in church: as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And but a lot of times we're trying to just throw a random piece of iron in and halfway include it. And sometimes we're trying to be iron being sharpened by wood, and that doesn't work either. And so you got to be in the forge together for a long period of time so that you can be made into what God is making you to be. So I love this discipleship model. So all right. So one of your groups, let's think practically for a second. One of your groups, you say, I'm a facilitator, and you made it sound like they're old. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
They're
Um,
older.
they're older. Okay, cool. That's fine. Hey, look, old people are awesome and
I love them.
a blessing. So you have that one, and in that one, are you a facilitator? Are you more a participant and you're learning in it, or are you like the guy that's helping, push the conversation forward, make sure you're staying on track? Is that so? Are you running these things?
In that particular one, in our first one, I would say I'm the facilitator that keeps everybody kind of on track and helps drive the conversation and keeps it keeps it on track so we don't go all sideways down rabbit holes sometimes. The other one where I'm the oldest one, I'm more of a participant. um, which is you would think that's backwards, but in this case, it's really not. So those guys are super educated and academic, have a great deal of biblical knowledge. And so it's fun for me, or it gives me a couple of different perspectives in ways that I can learn, where one I'm having to drive in one band, I'm having to kind of drive the group, and then in the other one I just kind of sit back and participate. So it's good for me to be able to be in both roles, and instead of just always the guy driving, because nobody wants to ride with me all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. Are there so you said you kind of walk together through the Bible through a chapter. Are there bands historically have had, specific questions you come around every week? Do y'all follow those banded questions? Like how is it with your soul? That one? Or any of those?
we, we do to a certain degree, but
Oh, you
not
got
just not itemized, listed right out of the. To begin with, we did ask some of the questions specifically, and then once we got to doing that, you know, honestly, it would become like a time consuming thing where we needed more than an hour. You know, if we were going to need 2 hours, and even now, especially with with the band that we've had going on the longest and that group, you know, a lot of times we're there for an hour and a half, 2 hours anyway, after we're kind of done and just, you know, talking in conversation. But those questions kind of come up, but just more indirectly instead of, you know, like straight to the point. Um, you know, and I think it works out both ways.
Sure.
Um, you know, it just depends on what kind of group. I think that the group of guys or women that you're in that group is to find out what works and what doesn't. And, you know, you don't it's just one of those things that you find out what works and you trudge on with that.
Oh, for sure. No, I think the one that I've started being in some groups that are beginning towards like banded confidentiality, band openness, band sharing, and man, we'll get to how's it with your soul, and that'll take 15, 20 minutes a guy, and
Right.
you get 15, 20 minutes a guy. You're trying to be together for an hour, and you got four people there. I mean, you're you're an hour in, one question deep. The other ones, is there any sin that you are keeping secret? I mean, you want a hard hitting question in a group full of people holding each other accountable. Uh, Ask them if there's anything that they're secret that they don't want to tell you about. Um,
Yeah, and
and
we
so,
we have done that. You know you
and it,
know, and that was one of the great things about our group, like, right out of the gate with our first band group that we had, you know, we had so much just openness and just sharing, and, you know, you would have been amazed to hear just the acceptance and the willingness just to share your heart with one another that we all did have, and that really congealed the group just immediately. That first meeting or so, and looking at those questions and us reading through them together, you know, at at the beginning and being like, "Ooh, these are some tough, right in your face questions." You know, and like that hidden sin and stuff. And so after we opened up and just shared, you know, opened up our hearts with one another from that point on, you know, we knew that we were a good group. Like it was what was in the group stayed in the group, you know, and just that open level of confidence with one another to have that trust is just, you know, it does something to your soul
yeah,
to know that you have other guys, other men that are around you that you can just open up to them. You can share with them what you're going through and ask for prayer, and you know that it's happening. You know, there's just something special about that that in today's world we don't always see. Even though if we're in an open group and open in church and we open it up for prayer, and that has its place and that is great, but whenever you have that band of brothers that are close knit, that know your heart, know your struggles, know you inside and out, and you can go to those people with those things that you're struggling with, and know that they're with you together and not there to condemn you, but there to lift you up and to, you know, offer those prayers for you, for your strength or restoration or whatever it may be. You know, there's just something special about that.
yeah. No, it's hard to replicate anywhere else.
There really is.
All right, so Brandon, you've mentioned that Fletcher Law is your preacher, and I like Fletcher. Met him a couple times. He's awesome. What's your day job? I mean, what are you? How has God called and equipped you in your non-banded life?
Ooh, man, I don't know if I want to. I work for a telephone company. We're not going to mention which one, but
All right, look, here's what I want to say. And this is um I don't take this anyway, but there is a place. Pastors are not the only people called into ministry.
oh,
And Brandon,
absolutely.
I appreciate that you have your role, you have your work, and I pray that you're doing it and glorifying God in working for a telephone company. And
And that's been one of the most encouraging things too. Is you a lot of times that specific group of people there, is historically known as like a roughneck group. And so it's not. I mean, that is like a kind of a stigma, I would say that's put, or a label that's kind of put on us. But looking at our group and how we've grown, and just sharing with them, knits just little things here and there, and seeing how God has worked in the workplace has been truly amazing. And it's opened up other things where, one of my other coworkers, he was going on a men's retreat last week, and me and him shared about it. He was excited to go, and I was excited he was going, and I was wanting more information, for next time. And so he got back, and man, he was pumped up, and you could see it in his eyes that God was doing great things there. So the one of the special things about actually working at the phone company is that you end up talking to a lot of people, so you're out in the world a lot. And so if you're taking that light out into the world, and we're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing in a godly way, the impact can just have a huge trickle down effect, because you don't know what that kind word is, that, or that smile, or whenever you go in there with an open heart, and, just, or kind, whenever they may be very hostile and attacking because they're upset their internet hasn't worked in a week. And so you've caught them when they're at their worst, really. And if you meet that back with kindness and love, ma- oftentimes it will be reciprocated when you don't think it would have been. And so you can take a negative situation and turn it into a positive one. So there's opportunities there to allow God to work while you're out in the world. So it's a blessing.
I love it. I think that, it meets the idea of there's really no second rate calling. And so, like, whatever God's called you to do, you just need to do it faithfully. And like Colossians 3 says, whatever you do in word or deed, do it to the glory of God. And so, there
That
isn't a whatever captures whatever, right? Whatever is working for the phone company, it's being a nurse, it's being a janitor or a custodial staff, it's being the head surgeon at a hospital, it's being a lawyer, it's being a childcare person, teacher, whatever includes whatever, be a stay-at-home parent, whatever, do it to the glory of God. And so you don't the thing that I love about this idea of bands is that it's for everyone. Everyone needs it. It's not just your clergy. It's not just your pastors. It's not just your non-clergy. I mean, clergies need bands just as much as laity do. And so our seminary professors need bands, and our kids really need
Mhm.
discipleship where they can be honest with people that are walking with them about what's going on in their life. And so this isn't a let your clergy do it, let your clergy run it. This is God has called me to walk alongside other believers, to confess our sins to one another, to encourage one another, to weep with those who are weeping, mourn with those who are mourning, celebrate with those who are celebrating. And I just feel like this is a really, Brandon, I'm excited that you've walked into this very biblical model. Who cares that the young guys maybe are better read, because
I love it.
if we're honest about being followers of Jesus, we know more than we practice, right? We know if we've spent some time in, I tell people, like, James, the book of James is the one that's like kicking me. It just, kicks you when you're down, and it starts off the rip just ready to beat you up. And if we just lived as though like the first chapter of James was true, like the world would be a different place. But
Oh man.
like we know it, but do we live it? And bans allow for that accountability in a lot of places for you to actually live what you know. And so and for other people to say, "Hey, you know you're not supposed to do this," or "You know you are supposed to do this.
Mhm.
Let's live that way." And so, James chapter 1 is like, consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds. Like, I don't want to do any of that, Jacob. Like, it doesn't help me to know that his Greek name was Jacob if I haven't considered that the trials I'm facing produce perseverance, and perseverance is going to push me to perfection. And so I'm
Right.
not just supposed to consider those good. I'm supposed to think of those with pure joy.
Right.
I don't know that I'll ever live there, but if I live into this band model, as maybe you haven't gotten to the place yet in either one of your bands where someone's really had a struggle to walk through. Maybe you have. But you can go, "Hey man, like I'm walking with you. I want to encourage you. The Bible here says we're supposed to consider this pure joy, not happiness. Happiness situational. Joy is from the Lord. How is God producing joy in your life in this situation?" And so, man, I don't let anyone look down on you because of what you know or what you don't know. I'm excited uh, for how this goes. So, how many bands exist, do you think, rough estimate, in Homer at Homer Global Methodist Church?
One, two, three, four. I would say there's probably five.
Five.
I
And
would
about
think there's
how
five.
many are there in each band, would you guess? How many are in year two?
There's five in each one of mine.
So
So
you're
we're
talking at
we're
least,
pretty much maxed out.
yeah, I
So,
wouldn't
but
go
I
bigger
think
than
in some,
five.
I think in some of the other ones it may be two and it may be four. So I would say average probably three and a half, four.
All right. So we're looking, so since your pastor presented this to you in the beginning of this year, you guys have gone from maybe haphazardly doing bands, or maybe intentionally, maybe people have been doing this before you said anything, um, to 20 to 25 people consistently in life on life relationship, accountability, and spiritual growth. Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right. Yeah, and these are in addition to like your Sunday school and the other, they have women's groups and men's groups and those are all still going but individual, separated from the band groups itself. So, just to that's it's inspiring to see the growth there, and it's not, some of the ones like in our younger group there, it may not all be people that are at our church. We're pulling from outside the church, and the one that was a visitor that came to our band group last week, he was from a different town outside of our church. So it spreads where it gives the opportunity to, for them to come to our church, but the ultimate goal is for us to come to Christ. So, and grow in that and grow in Him. So, it just you can see how that multiplication you know, can go so quickly once it starts going if people are willing to start other bands as well and or facilitate other bands or however you want to look at it.
Oh man, I love that. Yes, you want to meet the people within your local church, right? We want to get holy with those whom we share church pews with. But to know that there's people coming in from outside Homer who you may never see in the pew. I think that's the coolest thing. They may never come and sit with you on Sunday morning worship, but they're invited to walk in accountability and in encouragement from other folks. Man, It's
You know,
about the kingdom greater than it is about one local church. And dude, I love what you're doing. This
and
is
I look forward to the day where we do have the band that's, from outside the church, where it's just super uncut, unfiltered, that type of band, and I see that that's coming.
it sounds like it's going to be
I
sooner
can
rather
see
than
it coming.
later. Man, that's so. I guess another practical thing. When do your bands meet? Like, what time are y'all? Late night bands, early morning bands, skip
Well,
lunch bands? When are y'all
well,
gathering?
the one band we meet at 6:30 on Thursday afternoon, and then the other one meets at 3 on Sunday afternoon.
Okay,
Uh,
and trying to be about an hour.
right,
Usually run a little bit long.
that's right,
The more you like each other, probably the longer you're going to run.
right.
Unless somebody really doesn't want to share something. So one of the other things, and it's a very foreign concept, especially in modern era. But has there ever been any talk about um, someone who says, yes, there's secret sin in my life, and I refuse to tell you about it, um, or I know we were supposed to read the Bible together, but I'm just not going to read it with you. Um, in the Wesley rule following, Wesley was like, either you're in or you're in. And if you're not in, you're out. Have y'all talked at all about some of that accountability? Like, hey, we need you to be 100% in, or we're going to have to, take a break and reinstate you at a later date.
We really haven't had that approach. Now we went through and confess, like right at the beginning, with us being as open as what we were and confessing stuff, and oftentimes the confession and stuff just comes out when we're talking without even having a specific question asked, and so it's more just kind of open like that. And one of the things that's really cool, or I think it's really cool, is that to begin with, there were some that said they wouldn't do any homework. They were they were they were not going to do homework, but over time, everybody has read and knows what we're talking about before we come in there. So in their initial maybe refusal of doing certain things, that heart kind of softened and over time, and for them to be more part of the conversation, and not going into it blind, they inadvertently did the homework on their own without the thumb being pressed down on them. So it was more of God's Holy Spirit working, instead of it being just a specific person pushing to individually make that happen. So that's the Holy Spirit working there.
That's good. No, that's good. I've got some groups that we're working towards being more banded, but we're not there yet. And so to have a group that dove in kind of head first is both a challenge, right? Because it's like, oh man, we've got to, like, we're ready to go. We're not walking into this pool. We're diving into the deep end. And
Right.
so uh that's really cool. But it's also, diving in the deep end is scary. And so to the faith obviously of this group is magnificent. Maybe it's because we're so uncouth or whatever, but uh who cares? No, you walk together with honesty and transparency from the get-go is a huge blessing. And
Right.
so I'm excited. Is there any other ways that you've seen? I know this is still pretty new, but is there any other ways that you've seen God working through your bands or through what's happened, maybe with a culture shift at Homer that you could share?
Mm, the biggest thing that I see is just, well, there was one individual that had not been at church He had been out of church for quite a while, and you know, upon joining the band, that led him back to coming back to church, which was great. Like he's very much loved within the community there, and so it was really good to see him, start coming back to church, and the interactions that he has there, and the weight that he brings with being at church. So seeing that transpire was one great thing, but the other thing is just the impact that I see, or that I hear from the guys themselves. Like whenever we to speak individually, or outside of the bands and stuff, the the camaraderie, and even in what I thought about some of the other people has just changed so much, and has just altered, where you had some of these, maybe false beliefs, or just, stereotypes on certain people, and then, then you get stripped away, because whenever you get into that band, I mean, you're just stripped down to your bareness, and having that happen, and seeing that, and then sharing it with these guys, it gives another level of just, I don't want to say spirituality, but just a closeness with God, with the Holy Spirit in the church, so that whenever you are worshiping together in an open setting, there's so much more openness now than what there would have been, last year. Um, both where you can kid with one another and kind of joke, because you know each other so much better, and it just the spirit that it brings, and that bleeds over, because other people feel it too. Whenever you're having a good time with one of your buddies that you've been forged together and stripped down, and y'all are being, you know joking but serious, and all of that, and that bleeds over into the church service, and the other people see that, and I think that's some of the things that, that at some point in time, the light bulb or the bell will ring in their minds, it'll go off, and they'll realize that that's something that they want too. What's making these guys be so, close together? Why are they laughing so much? Where's that joy and that happiness coming from? And it's coming from the Lord, but it's coming from being banded together in the Lord.
Yeah,
So,
that's
I
so
mean,
good.
I see that being the biggest part. And then, if we're wanting to do something together out in the community, it gives you those band of brothers. And this is something that we've talked about, but we haven't done it yet. But I can see that it will be coming in the future. Is that whenever we do stuff to just help people, then you've got all these other band of brothers that can jump on board to help you move the needle into whatever you're trying to accomplish there in the community, and helping a specific person or a specific cause or whatever. You have that group to go to that'll just really push things forward to help it to be a success in whatever you're trying to reach in missions, or out in the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. If anybody's listening and they thought, it'd be a good idea to start a band, but I don't think I'm qualified or able to do it. Would you have any encouragement for them as uh maybe how to start, or when to start?
I say just start. just do it. Just go ahead, and this is what I said the other day whenever I was talking to somebody else. I said the biggest challenge in doing it is just setting a date, setting a time, setting a date. And that's the thing. Like, you may have to make some minor adjustments, and we've made one minor adjustment in our meeting, on our band. The first one that we started, initially we were going to meet on Wednesday nights, and then Wednesday nights didn't exactly flow correctly with one of the people, so we swapped it to Thursday, and it has worked well for most everybody. Now, I will say that I have missed some here lately, with my son being in football and all that kind of stuff. But there was one where I was able to FaceTime in, and I'm
Yeah.
sitting there with my earbuds in at the football game, and I'm still having that interaction with them. I'm on mute, so I'm not being disruptive, but there's in today's world, we have the availability of such technology too, where we can, even if we can't physically be there, you still have the availability to remotely be there.
Right.
And so that you're not missing out if you're really wanting to be a part of that. And so, my encouragement would be, I know, like, personally, I don't feel qualified, but that's the thing is he's not good. A lot of times he doesn't use the qualified. He uses the called, and he will qualify the called. So just do it scared, do it afraid, and set a date, set a
Yeah.
time, and see what happens. And just get out of his way. A lot of times we get in our own way, and we don't let him work, and we try to be too in control of schedules and times and all these different things. But if you just set it and you say you're going to do it, and then you just do it, and let God work there, and then if some changes need to be made, those will come up, and you can speak with those to your group, your band, and make those little necessary changes if needed. So I'd encourage anybody, if it's been laid on their heart to start one or to do it.
Oh,
It'll
that's so good. I think we worry that it's not going to be perfect, but it needs to start. Nothing good, nothing worth doing started off perfect. It
right.
started off getting started, and so Brandon, I as we wrap up, I'm just so thankful for your faithfulness to take the call of this historic Methodist thing. I mean, uh, this is a Wesleyan distinctive. It's what made uh, the Wesley model and Methodists different than others, is that we would get together in small group bands. It's one of the things that makes us who we are. And so thankful that you heard it, felt like it was what God was leading you to do, and to run with it. So I'm just excited. I'm excited to see how Homer is a different area than it would be if you hadn't done this. And so excited for what's coming for you. So um thankful for hopping on a call today to let others know about it as well.
Justin, thank you for having me. It's been a true pleasure.
All right. And thank you for watching Global Methodist Voices. You heard it from the man first. If you are feeling called to lead a band, lead a small group, get accountable with other people, just start. Plan the date, put it on the calendar, and invite some folks. If you need resources on this, Seedbed does have some resources on some historical questions. How's it with your soul? What's God laying on your heart? What's he been revealing in scripture? What sin are you trying to keep secret, and others of the like? So you can go check out Seedbed. They have some resources. If you're like, I don't know how to start this, they got it for you. Or you can just Google it. Just Google John Wesley band questions, and I'm sure you'll find them. Thank you for listening. We hope that you are experiencing the goodness of God wherever you are, from North Georgia to the very ends of the earth. And we're excited for how God is moving in the Global Methodist Church and through folks who desire scriptural holiness and making disciples of Jesus. So go with God, and we cannot wait to see you again.